Thank you, everyone, for joining today. We will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's nice to see a good turnout tonight. We have a number of good presentations this evening. Before we get going, we'll start with our public comment section. Anyone wishing to address the board should sign in the front table, and we will recognize you. Please keep your timing to 3 minutes, and please state your name and address for board minutes. So if there's anyone who'd like to come forward, feel free to do so. Okay. If not, we will move to our board presentation. So our first presentation, which we are very excited to have, is the summer squash event. So feel free to come forward, and we're looking forward to hearing about it and very excited.
Hi everyone. We are so happy to be here today. We thank you so much to let us this chance. I'm here with my team. My name is Said Salim. I'm the squash head pro at Mirror Club for the second season, and I have my own company, squash company in the city. I am here I have a dream, and I hope this dream come true. When the dream to have the squash court, glass court in Agua Park. So I am here to presentation this with my team. This is my wife and my partner, Stephanie Yanis, and Miss Monda Bazil. I will turn over to Ms. Bazil. She will give you more picture about all this event.
Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Nice to be here, and we're really excited about being here. And I just have to say, I just told Jesse, my son thinks I'm here with a rock star because always shops in 10. He's like, Mom, you're seeing a rock star. So, yeah, we're real excited. And real excited about this event for a multitude of reasons. And one of the reasons we were also excited about, Jesse, we feel the event coming to the park, squashers, as you know, that's squash, but also coming to the park and bringing it here can do two things. And one of the major things we felt it could do would be to really help the businesses and bring an attraction to the people. And that was really one of the points. Syed and I know each other for many, many years. My kids play squash, and we've been here in the village. They've grown up here as kids in the summer. And it actually was kind of sad when we walk up and down the avenues and you see the stores and you see them closing. We're like, oh, and when Syed wanted to do this, we were like, this is such a great event that we can do, which would also bring businesses while parents are waiting and walking around, and they could eat in the restaurants, do a little shopping. And then we wanted to do a give back, a thank you, something that the village needs in the community. And it just so happened we were thinking the lake. We've been hearing so much about it that it needs to be cleaned up. And so what we wanted to do is not only do something where we can help ourselves, but also help the village, the vendors, and give one event as a thank you event at the end of the August, and we wanted all those proceeds to go to clean up the lake. And we believe it would be a pretty big event, knowing the people that we know in squash, and a lot of them are in the area. And I'm open to that's how.
Thank you. Well, we're fortunate enough to have a board and a team here that's very much pro experiences and pro business, and so I guess we probably have a number of questions about timing, execution, how many people, what it would look like, if there's any diagrams or graphics about that. But maybe I don't know if there's more to. If not, we can turn it over to some board members for questions.
Yeah,
I don't know who
please
would like
do,
to start.
because we have a whole big vision, but I will tell you what, we have everything probably pretty much ready for some of your questions, but before we went and just said, oh, here we go, we wanted to make sure you said yes. And so we say yes, all your concerns or addresses or whatever, we would address either now or present you with what the formal, that you say, yes, we can do this here, and it would be great, and we'll proceed to, but go ahead.
Would anyone like to kick this off?
Well, you started with all the big, again, the where, what, and hows. I mean, I see there is a photo of here. Is this a true depiction of what?
So that's
Or
a
is that a
glass court,
rendering?
and we're looking to... Please step up. Sure, and we're looking to put it in Dosher Park. We were thinking ideally we could set it up before Memorial Day, before the traffic comes in, and then have it up until Labor Day. That way, it takes about 4 to 7 days to set up. That way, we could kind of avoid the traffic.
So you're looking to do it all summer long, because you said a one-time thing? Or
That's what we
so?
were thinking. When we moved it to Dosher Park, then it makes sense to use it, and we could have the squash program all summer.
And this is a temporary structure? It comes in,
It's a
takes a few
temporary
days to
structure.
set
Yep,
up?
glass,
And
squash court, set up, take down, and then we would remove it.
So was this originally an event that was going to be like some type of a tournament, and then it got switched back? Because I remember hearing a bit of it at first where you wanted it in Agawam,
Yeah.
and then it takes how long to set it up, and then the tournament, and how long to remove it. And then I know you were spoken to about Dosha.
Right.
Okay, so-
Was- Actually, my dream was to have it, the glass court in Agawam Park. But because of the time, and we don't want to hurt the Agawam Park, because the green and everyone enjoys the park, and it will take to put it up and put it down. It's take about 2-3 weeks. That's why when we get the idea of the other park, we say, oh, this can be much better for us, because it's a little bit far from the park. We don't hurt the park. In the same time, we are in a lake too. That means all the reason, all the location is still the same space, but not in Agawam Park. Which, if that's worked so well in the summer, and this year, this season, we love to have it this again in a big vision. Then we think about the Agawam Park more as specifics. That's why it's,
Right, we thought right
we do
now,
have weekly, events there, concerts, and there's art in the park and everything else, and there becomes the conflict of, I don't know how big of a footprint you would need or the space you would need, where it would go front and center, would go towards the back. So there was the things where I think that there were, probably you were spoken to and said, hey, listen, we have concerts every Wednesday, and then there's art park, and then there's some other things. So then Dosher was recommended, and it sounds like you jumped on Dosher because
Right.
it is
Because
parking, it is,
yeah, it's more private. And to be honest, this area is not really attraction for the people. This is empty the most of the summer. So, oh, that's the place where we can really make it more wind inside the park. Can get the people there to see, oh, this empty space now is attraction. When this is have to do with the park too. That's why the fundraising, what we want to do it for the clean the lake, this will be in the same space. This will be see the people really to come to really donation for this event. That's why we think.
Go on.
That's why we think when you offer us this park, we say, oh, we can have more flexibility. We can have the court maybe for 2 months, where we can spend the time, the attraction more than, and instead just 1 week, we can have it for 2 months, where the people see more people to play, to enjoy the program, and see the squash all the time.
and we actually, it evolved as an idea, as it started evolving, and we were talking about it, and I've always known Syed's vision of this, and I helped to get involved, and I said, I think this would be amazing, knowing we have so many people that come here all the time, and the connections and understanding this. We said, wait, I'm always great about like doing and giving at the same time. It's reciprocal. And I said, this would be it's a great, group, so many different people. It's not right in the center where you're going to be so crowded. Other squash is so far away. It's kind of nice to do it in the park. It'll be one court. I can just vision like parents, like from when my kids were younger, even when the kids are older, or just everyone loves squash, or even me myself, if I want to go hit and play with my friends, I could just see, let me wait for my kids, let me go have a bite to eat, or let me go wait, I need this thing, let me just go into CVS. They'll be in a lesson for 45 minutes, let me just stroll over, I'm not going to go all the way back. So I thought it could be something, and I said, Syed, why don't we do this for the whole summer? Because I really think it could be something that would be great for the community. It's like a flow of a flux of people coming and going. And then how do you make it where you could really make a big impact and do a thank you? We said, make the event, make that the event. That would be the whole donation event. back to the cleanup of the park as like a thank you. You know, so it's like a give and take, and thought it would be such a great attraction. And when we told our kids that this is what was happening, like, oh my God, this would be awesome. You know, it'd really be really cool. I mean, I just have to say.
So you would have a culminating event that would then, is that?
The event we were thinking would be at the end of near the summer, but not too end. We didn't really, I mean, at first I know a date was on there, and then I was talking to Stephanie and said, I said, I'm not sure about that date. Let's do a date where some of the college kids still didn't go away back to school yet, because you want it to be some of the college kids involved in it, or even if they are, but to do an event at the end.
When
Where
you say an
it's
event, what do you mean like an event? I'm sorry.
like a charity event.
like-
So
like-
maybe it'll be the next
like an actual
Southampton
tournament of
Hospital
some-
event. A formal, I mean,
Do you have leagues that already were like where are the players or where are the people or all that?
Players
come
are.
From just whatever?
if the community.
Junior
And it's open to anybody?
Whoever
and you'll do
wants to
lessons?
join, we'll make some sort of event. We might make a exhibition event, the formal how the event will be, but it'll be a fundraiser.
Like
Take
on a daily
Southampton
basis,
Hospital.
how do you anticipate it
On a
being
daily basis.
What are the programs that you'll be running there on a, yeah.
So
that's
what
it.
we were thinking, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. We will have a junior program. It was about every 2 hours for between 4 to 8 kids, which they can split it between fitness and squash.
Because the court, you can't really put in more than 4 kids at a time, so you couldn't in a 2-hour span really do more than 8 kids unless you're
And
doing
it'll be one court in it? Or
for this year,
This is one
hopefully
court,
we
yeah.
can go on, but for this year, we thought one cool glass court under a tent would be, and, you know, you could also temper the traffic so we know what it's going to be, you know, without doing more than one. So one court, and usually how it would be like 4 to 8 to 10 kids depending, and half would be outside because there's usually fitness involved in doing squash, and then there's actual training and matches, so they'll be on rotation. We were also getting a little creative with an idea of, this is on a side note, if there's a store or something, if maybe something close, not too big, where maybe there could be a tutoring session, because these kids are everyone wants to tutor and test prep and all this. So maybe while you're waiting, because if it's in different age groups, so maybe the younger kid could be in there while the older kid is getting prepped. So if the parent is driving, say from East Hampton or something, you know, that's a thought. But again, we're waiting on your thought process before we give you, these are our ideas. And that may or may not be, that was just an extra added.
So back to your question, sir. We will have also junior tournament. That's between under age 13 to 17. And then we'll have college tournament. We'll play it in the end of August. And then we have one day, the fundraising event for clean the park, where we have the court, and we'll have tables around the court, where we do it really white party event with a cocktail party, and what's maybe we do it courses with some restaurants over there, or we have buffet, and then we sell it, this kind of tables around the court, and this will be our fundraising to get the charity or to get the money to the tournament or to the event to give it to the village. That means it will be a junior program, it will be a junior tournament, college tournament, and then exhibition match. In the day we have the fundraising to make this more exciting, and we can sell at the table better and better. Then we get top 10, 2 of the top 10 in the ranking, in the world ranking, they will coming to have this exhibition match to make it more exciting and more
And
effective.
so, I mean, every 2 hours, you'll have a switch in players and all of
Exactly.
that. So, I mean, are you running from 8 in the morning till 6 at night for, you know?
It's independent about maybe-
You know, so in groups, how many people do you think you're really going to be bringing in on a daily basis to try and
I'm going to
and make
revert
this?
that question to you. Do you have a limit or a preference of time
No,
frame?
I mean,
No, I don't mean you in particular. I'm just saying we're open to do it. So this is
I'm just
site,
trying to get a guesstimate from you, what you think the attraction and is for the kids that are, you know, would you be able to, how much
8
would
to
you be
8.
able to fill
I
up?
would say 8 to 8, knowing being a squash mom and my whole life circle, my whole life, I can probably tell you, and knowing the ambition of Syed and some of the people that will join him, it will probably be 8 to 8.
Okay.
And it could it be less on some days, but different, everybody does different things. Who's going to the beach in the day might want to come in the afternoon for a lesson or a training or just to hit. There might be times where we say open court, there's no lessons or training, so it's open to who wants to come. They maybe will make a way where they can just sign to come on or are waiting, or maybe while they're waiting for a court, again, they'll be in the area, in the neighborhood, they'll walk around. There's where I was feeling it was going to be super, and it's not like you're bringing 50 or 100 people at a time. You're bringing them kind of in a rotational flow.
But on a tournament schedule, I mean, having one court is going to expand the length of time that everyone needs to be around. I mean, when I went to the Nationals at Avon, when my son was playing in it, they have a bunch of courts that everyone is on, and they're switching over as quickly as
Correct,
possible.
but
So how, I mean, is it going to be for, only 4 or 8 people for a tournament? Or
Right, so since your son played, it's one match, so it's not going to be like, if it's a tournament, it's only going to be so many, it'll be age group, we'll design it by age group, it's not going to have.
Let us say like this, when we have the program going on, the tournament will not play it. The tournament is the end of August. That's why this program going to the end of August, stop when we start to play the tournament. Besides, I am very friendly with, I work with my first job was in SYS.
Yeah.
Since 2008, that's where I start, my first job in the United States. That's
But we
why
met him.
also the tournament will be about 1 week, where is enough time to covering all the matches for junior and the college player.
Okay, so, I mean, so would you be utilizing other courts then? I mean, would you try and,
We will, yeah, for sure. We will try to get help
Yeah, so
from
you-
SYS to have 4 court to help us to go through with all the matches we have, for sure.
okay.
And one other thing, I'm sorry. One other thing, the tournament is will be not best of 5, it will be best of 3. It's going faster, it's more entertainment. The kids doesn't get so much hard matches for 5 games.
Yep.
That's why we will plan for this. We have a plan for specific the end of the August, how that can work with a tournament and covering the time.
First of all, thank you for bringing something to the village that will help drive activity to the village. And second of all, thank you for volunteering to offer to donate all your proceeds to the lake. We need every penny we can get, so that's appreciated. Let's say hypothetically you were to run it from 8 to 8 p.m. Obviously, there needs to be a community benefit, and there are a lot of people in the community who may or may not be able to, don't know how to play squash. You were an instructor at SYS, and that was your first job. How do we draw people in who've never done it, in a glass cage, who might be embarrassed, to look like they want to play squash?
From my standpoint, I talk to everyone when I try to convince everyone to come to play.
Okay?
That's
He
first.
walks up and down the street.
Yeah,
And you know what, there's a big social, I mean, if your son play, I mean, it's just such a circle of people, and then the kids come, and then their friends, and then the parents are talking, and maybe we'll put like a big flag one day, come try, so we were planning like all different kind of really vibrant, kind of exciting feeling things, so, yeah.
When I start in Hampton, 2008 in SYS, my dream to make this public, to get this to the really local kids, to enjoy it this without too much money. And that was my target, and still my target too. That's why I think this kind of event, or this kind of what the court there, will open for the public maybe every day between 1 to 2 hours for everyone to come to try to play
And would you give them instruction for free?
for free, and we will have for them equipment, glasses and shoes and everything we got from sponsors. And besides this too, we want to do something for the kids in Southampton. How really we help the kids. I think so, to do it something for free for the Southampton school, after school program, to let the kids come in the summer and play for free.
Have you reached out to Southampton School or the intermediate
I
school
know the
at
head
all?
bro, but I can't do anything now before I have nothing in the hand. I don't can
Right. I said,
say to him, you can enjoy it before I
right.
I
But
have
I
the
would
opportunity.
suggest you reach out to the school and just get their sense of what they think
For
this
sure.
would be in terms of interest for the kids.
for sure. And we will put it this we love to put this in the newspaper, because everyone know it, oh, this court, we can play in a court for free.
But I will tell you, Syed, from the time that we knew him, I'm going to just talk about you, he did take one public school kid that has grown up in Southampton and went up to the public school here, who came from a family who had a little bit of problems. He donated, he'll never speak, his time, helped him. The mother couldn't pay, did the whole lessons, brought him to a top-ranked kid, and he got into the Naval Academy. So he's not just saying it, he's like the biggest heart of the planet.
No, actually, and I'm glad Trustee Allen, because that's kind of what I was getting at before, and then when Trustee Plower would say, what are your programs? Because clearly, with the size of it, and I'm pretty confident, and you said it, you already have an interested group that are going to utilize it. There's already a circle of people. As Trustee Allen said, from a public perspective, if we allow something like this, there has to be a public benefit, and that's where, so that's why we're saying, so now, like, how many kids, or, you know, how many are gonna be
And we just said,
orphaned.
even, I said, Syed, there's no, you know, we can do it in limits, but then when you, if it really goes over well, and say the next year where we use the other side of the park, and if it opens and you do, you know, 3 or 4 more courts, it's so easy to invite more free people. One court, there's going to be limitation to how
Clearly,
much
yes.
you can do, with still bringing on the attraction.
And that's why we're asking, like
Yeah.
Trustee Pallaro said, what are the numbers you anticipate? 20, 30? Because then that gets into the point where we're in the height of our summer season, so parking becomes an issue. Actually, the location of this in Dozier is better because that's where the parking is.
That's
So is this-
However, it is a, you know, competition for parking, for our park, for the other things, and just shopping. So, again, Trustee Pallaro was trying to, again, instead of you saying what we're looking for, we can't tell you what we're looking for until you, what your expectations. Is that 50 people, 100 people? What are the, you know, which translates to vehicles, parking, you know, that's, what do you expect on
We
a
are
day?
not so sure how many people will it be interesting to come to play, but that is not so important more than what we do it for the Southampton.
Right.
Why we do it in Southampton.
That
We
part I
wanna-
get, that's the
Right.
easy part, trust
And
me.
it's one
That's
court.
easy, that's an easy sale.
Yeah.
Right, there's
But,
only
you
so
know, but
many.
like, but SYS, how many people utilize it now? I mean, what, or at the Meadow Club, how
Let
many
us say
people use it now?
we respect maybe every day about 25 kids coming back and forth. And in the tournament, there will be more people coming, watching, playing. This will be more crowded than.
So interestingly, about a year ago, we had a room full of people, and they're all pickleball players. And they all said, remember that, Rich? Oh, pickleball is the fastest growing sport across the entire United States. And people actually queue up for pickleball, I'm told, in warmer states. The only reason why I say that is, I don't know how much space you need, but it's always been an idea of mine, and Trustee Parrish heard this at a meeting earlier, that we have activities in the village where people come and they play, and then they go and eat, and they go and dine, and they go and shop. So I like the idea. I'm just wondering if we can get enough momentum behind it, because I know for pickleball, we have massive amounts of people already in place who would play it.
I want to start to play too, because I think it's an amazing sport. And if you believe or not, I was play with the idea to have a court beside the squash court.
Or
I mean-
badminton.
I mean, I come up with this idea too, because I think the sport is amazing, even better than squash. But if it's rain one time, you don't can play. That's why the squash court, right? We are sure we all the time. Because the rain, the box, is a show box. Everybody will see it, they will get interesting for. If we can make big ball besides the court, that would be amazing.
We don't want to add a burden, but that is a need that's been identified by the town, and they have, so have that.
And also part of it too, you would, and that's why I would bring in our DPW, Gary, because the Dozier area, it's kind of marshy in some spots, in some spots. So where this would be going, then in the foot traffic, then would have to be concerned about the weight of it. But, you know, so those are little details that we'd have to know where it would go. My first couple of thoughts. But, no, but the concept of doing, you know, and using space, which is what it's there for. Quite honestly, using part of the Agawam Park, there would have been, and probably will be, a lot of issues with using that, because through the years have been issues, because it's also part of veterans, have part of that park. So, that's why there hasn't been a lot of different things through the years, because there's reasons why. So I actually like the idea of the Dozier side for the reasons you said.
And the
bringing
people don't like
people
the
up.
idea because when I bought it, was the event, just one event in
Yeah.
our bar.
Yeah.
But with the other blocks, oh my God, this is opening for us a lot of chance.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks for sponsors, for everyone in the city. It's not just one week, it's just 2 months.
And you have sponsors, so, and from the village, what, would you require any maintenance, cleaning, staffing, or anything, or that's all you guys? Cleaning, staffing, maintenance of it?
We do it everything.
That's you, so
We
you don't
do it.
require
We
any of
take
that
care
from the
about
village?
everything.
So all the, the rental of this court, the tent,
Our expense.
and then that's all your expense. And then the daily running of it, who's going to be running, who's going to be setting up the appointments, who's going to be there to open, to close, to all that? That you've got you'll have your staff and
Yeah,
your
we are
people
just
to
3
do it?
now, but when that's really, we get yes or so, then we will have maybe 20, 25. We have a lot of people to love to help us.
Okay.
We have a
Volunteer
very,
too.
Do you have a lot of people that are going to help with funding for it too then?
it's
Because I
just
can't
a
believe the
matter
glass
of,
court can't be cheap as the,
it's not.
yes.
It's not
Were you
a
part of
cheap
this?
proposition. It
How-
is a.
Because the other ones I see, you have
definite,
examples in other countries. Were you part of those too, or those just examples of the glass courts?
Just examples.
That's exactly. But I know the most of the people in the
put it
organized
on.
big tournament. With John Nemec, the one he did the TUC, we was very close to 2010. Very, very close. I still have the paper, and we apply for the tournament, and we get approved. But we don't go through with this because Mr. John Nemec, he want to just see it from the business aspect. That's why we don't go through with this, because it's not just about business, it's more about other things. But the village don't really like it at this time.
Very good. By the way, I just want to say that two things. Today, I was actually at 2 p.m. at the intermediate school doing Q&A for an essay contest that the 8th graders are working on. And in the Q&A, one of the 8th graders gets up and looks at me and says, "What are you doing to provide more activities for us?"
No.
So here you are.
Never coincidences.
And secondly, I would urge you to connect. Jackie is here. She's actually the most important person in the intermediate school, so you guys can say hi to her before you leave. The only thing I would suggest is, Alexander, do we need to get town approval or CPF approval from the Dozier property?
We would have to do an analysis on it, but there'll definitely be a permitting process.
And then with the next steps, Russell, feel free to jump in as well. Can we pass a resolution allowing this, or how would we proceed? Do we need some more information?
Insurance, indemnification, things like that.
Yeah,
I mean-
Well, we figured we need insurance, so let me just say what our thought process was, and then we were going through. So obviously, there's a lot of little steps that need to be done, such as, insurance and traffic, flow, where the cars are, et cetera. But what we said is, wait to see if you say yes, you can proceed, providing, obviously, we definitely need insurance and et cetera, and these are our concerns. And then we already have things lined up of how we would close it in, who we would talk to, how we're going to get the funding, what the plans of the, the fine details of all the deals.
One of the issues I think that pop up to me too, and I'm going to address in a second, I'm going to call my chief to answer this. We do have a glass building in the middle, so security, I think clearly we have to be pragmatic. Do you have any ideas about that, chief, about if we put this giant glass structure in the middle of the park? Obviously, you guys are going to be, you're patrolling anyways, but, I mean, you have any?
We have cameras there.
Okay, so do you have any misgivings about that? Is there anything that? Okay.
We just assume Southampton's so safe, we sleep with our doors open at night.
Not saying
So,
it isn't, it is,
We're
however,
having alarms. I could walk in one day and there's like families living there, I'd have no idea.
you never know, so of course
But
you have to.
adding on to the conversation, I do think you should reach out to the middle school. I don't know, Jackie, who the right person would be, but Amy Pearson at the high school and I forget the other woman's name that we dealt with when we did the career panel, just to get a sense of how you would
We could
attract.
actually send out.
Darren Phillips would be
Darren,
Darren
yeah.
Phillips is the person who's the head of athletics.
But Stephanie, I think what we can do is we'll probably send out some sort of flyer if you say, okay, and we'll say we're planning this, will be memorial, whatever. Any children interested in joining, please supply their names, let them know they can come. We will then know how many kids, adults, or ever are interested, so we know how much time to allocate for free hours to give them. You know what I mean? Once we know how many, then you can know how to allocate.
And not to weigh in,
No, weighing
to
in
tell
is
you what to
great. That's
do, but
actually.
I think you should lay out kind of the day. What does the day look like? What does the week look like? How will you be instructing juniors? How will you be instructing adults? When will you have tournaments? Just kind of a runway, so then we can get the word out when.
That's 100%. I mean, we're kind of excited to move, and then we just kept saying, okay, we have so many little, okay, what are the hours? What are the schedules? What are the lessons? What are the times? Who we're bringing in at what time? But let's just get a yes, and then we'll move to the fine details of the timing of those things. But
We have vision about how that will be, but to get to this point, we need first something in the hand. Where you say, oh, now we bought it really, the vision, what we have, we bought it really into it, in a plan, in a scheduled plan, and then.
just from a business standpoint, to go out there and spend the time, it's not my primary business, to go out there, spend the time, organize it, do it, put it all together, know you're doing it, you need to know you have a concrete plan. You're going in there, convincing people, bring your kids, let them come, we'll give you 2 hours a day, what are your hours, how many do you have? And then we can allocate the rest of the plan. It's hard to do that. Tell people we may be having this thing that, it's hard to get excited.
Well, I think
but
you
if
have, I
really
think you have
say-
board support up here for the concept. I think, but we do need a little I need a little
No,
more detail.
100%.
yeah,
So-
I
Listen,
So
we
you
need
have to come back with
success, too.
something
It's a
about, like
receipt.
Trustee Allen just said, like, kind of what do you envision the day, the week, the month being?
We're
you
so
know?
happy to provide that. As
Yeah.
you say, you know what, like what you just said, you have our support, go ahead. We are not even like letting the word get out. Squash community is so
Yeah.
small. I don't know how much you could, Avon, it's like buzzes, and then everything gets out. And even I'm in the city, and I say it's such a big city, but it's such a small city, and then you don't know who wants to, so you don't want to just say, we might be doing this thing. We will go out and say, we're doing this thing, and we'll start talking to the schools immediately.
You
We'll
can
start
still
with
do that,
you.
because we still have to run it by the
Yeah,
town, because
we
it's,
do.
a property that's jointly owned with us in a town. So, so there are a few things, just semantics, we have to do on our end. Nothing insurmountable by any means. No, I don't really see I don't see an issue with it, but who knows?
But if you could attach pickleball, I know that just came out, but we really,
I'm going to throw one thing in there from a business standpoint, if you don't want to say it. I know you're excited about it, but if they're willing to pay for their pickleball in there, of course, attaching it would be great, but I don't think we already have
Throw
a
that to
big
Jay.
undertaking expense to put this out, business talking. You know
No,
what
no,
I mean? I
it's
don't know
not-
what pickleball cost, to just
No.
offer it to somebody with a great vision and backing.
No,
It's
no,
great.
you're
We
absolutely
have
right.
a
This
lot
is
of
your
work.
vision, this is your wheelhouse, and
No,
so, of
we're
course.
willing to attach it. We're
Yeah,
not
but-
like
yeah.
saying no, but let them do their
Their thing.
Lighting, you said 8 days, so you participate lighting, you need lighting for when it gets.
love lighting, because at night, we think it's so cool. Like, I think it just like, to have, like, if you saw the pictures globally, or like when you go through Grand Central and you see the courts are there, it's just a buzz, people just walk through. To just see like this glass squash court, not because I'm a squash.
And you
fan.
guys, that's part of what you bring in too, or do you need the village to do any part of that, bring in lighting, or that's
They're
all part of
planning,
it?
I'll put it to you this way, and if you don't mind my saying so, we're planning on doing everything. If we run into an obstacle, because obviously we've never done it in a park before that really is going to need something that is totally unexpected, that we didn't think about, or when they come down to lay it and it's really something, because we didn't call them to come down and take a look at the property yet, and if they say, well, we need this, and that, and it hits us way over of what we thought that.
And we need to bring our,
discussion,
and we need to bring our
That's-
DPW guys into us to again, for the location, what they can handle and so forth, so, so you have to bring a few more people.
Right, I mean, again, I think that you've got support across the board here, but I think that we need to see a greater detailed plan of exactly what you're looking for. And I think having someone come down, look at the site, letting exactly know, just so there aren't any hiccups and any surprises, because I'd hate for us to say yes, and then all of a sudden say, no, we can't do it because of the marshiness of the area or whatever. So I think that, again, as you said, there's a lot of small steps and fine details that we need to do, but I definitely would like to see something in greater detail.
We're so happy to do that, as long as we at least have the support.
Yep.
We can, then it's worth our time, because if you were going to say it's absolutely out of the question, then doing all of that, just time consuming, you know what I mean? It would not be, but as long as there is support for it, I think our first course of action is getting the court people to come down here and take a look at the site and tell us if there's anything that we don't anticipate. Obviously, security, somebody could be, that's always just great to have.
So I just think that in order to get a resolution passed, what I think would happen is we kind of go through our detailed special events process, which covers a lot of details as to what we might need with regards to volunteers. Will we need ambulance, fire, any of those things, sign off from the police department? That input from all of our departments, as they were saying, and culminating in the end with probably a license agreement. And I think that would be the process. So you would need to lay out a business plan in the form of a special event, get the board, get all of the input from, as we said, DPW parks, all of the various interests, that in the village, the police department and so forth, which would then show us the business plan, and then a license agreement will be drawn up. That's the process.
That's fair enough. And one of the other things we were thinking, when the families are there, we were saying we would go to the local stores, restaurants, et cetera, just to encourage, because part of it is people are walking around. I personally, and my son and I, like this summer, actually crying, seeing how many empty stores there are, which is really, like you just say, there's so many things, why aren't they there? So they need business. So some of the things would be like maybe, something to help the village. So people go, let me go over here and I'm getting a little something. So to get some of the village involved.
Well, if you want to rent some stores too while you're at it,
Yeah, I'd
that'd be
love to.
fantastic.
Actually, I was trying to think if there's, and that's one of the things I was throwing at you. There's a couple of major guys that I know that tutor, if we put them on, I don't know if there's a space like a pop-up type of a situation where they'd let us add that in for a short-term thing, because I do think a lot of parents, who's one of them, that you go to the squash and then you're test prepping or tutoring. So you have one kid in or one kid out, or the minute they're finished, you're getting them back home to have them get their test prep or tutoring. So that would be something for one of the stores that might be willing to do something for a reasonable price for the months that we're there. And we can kind of affiliate it with that. It also helps the families to say, I don't have to run back home, or let me stay a little bit longer. I can just that's just throwing it out there, since you mentioned.
It's the reasonable price bit that would be
Yeah,
interesting.
reasonable is.
That's
It's a relative
We'll
term.
What's
take
reasonable to the
donations.
tenant might not be reasonable to the landlord.
Right,
so-
exactly. I'm in real
we'll
estate,
see.
I get it.
When you like to have the full proposal about all these details?
As soon as we can,
Whenever, as soon as you want to run with it,
yeah.
Because we are tight with the time to
Yeah.
order the court,
to get the court and all of that, yeah.
big process. The
Running,
more
yeah.
we know about it, more
I
we
think
get
the
some
ball-
support.
the ball's in
Look like you
11.
say now.
12? 12? Yeah, our next meeting is the 12th of March. So, I mean,
It's his birthday, and I'll be coming back from France. Perfect.
so, yeah, so I mean, that's the next meeting. The one after that is the 25th of March. So, I mean, again, I know the lead time for all of it.
We'll try
It's
to
got to
get
be
it by the
bid, so, yeah.
12th of March. If you
For
can
sure.
tend put us on the calendar for that, we will try to have it done. If we want to arrange getting questions, or I guess you know who to do, we're going to, I guess, bring the court people down. That's our first big thing, and start reaching out.
That'd
And
be
we'll talk
great.
to the schools in
Yeah.
the meantime,
I
just to
think
allocate.
leveling the
to-
ground, if it needs to be, is the number one thing, and
We will
they can
start
add a
work today.
layer.
Yeah, and that's it. So
And then,
I think that's
yeah.
primary, bring out the court people and find out the feasibility and what's required.
I wonder if they just have to go through our village DPW, they don't have to go through planning board because you're placing something on the ground. I don't know about that.
I don't believe so.
I was
Okay.
having a vision of if there's a way when the court people come, because having thought about that, I don't know if they put some kind of.
It is a
like
park
elevated
use.
stands
Yeah,
where you-
They do. They'll probably put something there that would be on the ground that could level it from
Let
in
water
different.
seep into it and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I feel like that would be the thing where we were going with it, but
Yeah.
again, didn't want to until we got the.
All right, well, very good. I will also get a letter over to Jay Schneiderman, Town Supervisor, hopefully tomorrow, letting him know about this, that I'm in full support of it. And then once we, from when we get this going, we can also put you in touch with Gary Gillespie, head of DPW, Steve Phillips, head of Parks, make sure you've got all the resources that you need. So, but thank you very much for the presentation. It was excellent, and we're hoping to work with you.
Thank you so much, guys, everyone. And we hope so for the next meeting then.
Okay, excellent.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So we have another exciting board presentation, something that we're all fond of. We have a Clean Water Committee update from Rob Coburn. And then I also see Peter Campbell here behind a new dredging technology that could also, we can hopefully use in the future as well. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Mayor. It's nice of you to say that it's an exciting presentation. It's not exciting as exciting as the squash tournament and program, but it's important. So thank you, Mayor Warren and trustees, for letting us come. We wanted to give a little bit of an overview of what the Clean Water Committee has been doing.
One on the, no?
Yeah, I'm going to put some things that, I've got something coming up on the screen anyway.
Gotcha.
These can be laid down, actually. Okay. In sort of in that order. You have, I think, in your briefing books, a one-page outline of the presentation I'm about to give you. And Charlie, you can, if it's available, is it available to you? Yeah, these are, well, actually, Charlie, if you could go to the screen on the, can you go to the screen on the computer? So very quickly here, I want to get through this in just a few minutes and then let you ask questions if you have them. But Southampton Clean Water Committee, I just need to find a way to make the pages go here. I'm going to ask for Julie's help because I'm hitting page down and nothing's happening.
You did set this up as a, did you set?
I think so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And what did you just do?
This key. You wanted it this, so just go window.
Good. So what is the Clean Water Committee? You appointed the Clean Water Committee in September. What have we done? We've met 4 times. We've had participation from the members of the committee and the liaisons, several of whom are up here on this dais, and input from about 30 residents, a little more than 30 residents and experts. We created a New Hope for Agawam slide. I think we've delivered this to you previously. That's on the table. We'll come to that in a moment. And we also sent you some correspondence about a week ago, a little more than a week ago, along with the Planning Commission. And that correspondence covered 3 things, really. One was our committee's response to the DEC. The DEC is working with the village, as most of you know, on a harmful algae bloom, or HABs, report for Agawam, specific to trying to address the harmful algae bloom issue in the lake, which is a very important subset of the water quality issues, or outcome of the water quality issues in the lake. So they've had several meetings and put together a draft report. We reviewed that on behalf of the village. I know Gary Gillespie did as well, and we put in comments to you. So that was part of the letter that came on February 11th or 12th from Paul Travis. We also sent, with that correspondence, a draft 2020 Lake Agawam Management Plan, which is what I'm going to talk more about in detail in a moment, and then a summary of that plan, a narrative summary of that plan. So we've done a few other things, but that's the heart of the work that we've done so far. The highlight of our comments to the DEC really comes down to, the first thing I would say is that the DEC's report on harmful algae blooms it's about a 60-page document. One of the appendices of that was lifted entirely from our 2020 Lake Agawam Management Plan. And it's not to pat us on the back, it's just to give you some confidence that we've been working with them, and there's a good synergy there. We're only one part of their machine, but There's complete compatibility, in other words, between the plan we've put together and the harmful algae bloom sub-plan, important sub-plan that the DEC has been working on. But the three main highlights of our comments had to do with the sewer district, because treating effluent that comes from the CBD or down the watershed, down North Sea Road and Windmill Lane, is a critical part, medium and long-term strategy of addressing water quality in Agawam. The comments talked about continuing to study cluster systems for selected or larger use in the village, at least on an interim basis, perhaps. And then the creation of a sewer district as a longer-term strategy and in compatibility with the county's desires at this point. There was a section of comments on dredging. This is a very important technique. There's a high volume of sediments, and the nature of those sediments in the lake is an important source of the problems, a major threat to the lake's water, what's in there already. So strategies for getting that out. There is a study, a draft study that Nelson Pope Voorhees has done, and that is still being worked on. I think it's due to be completed by sometime this fall, and regarding different scopes and feasibilities of various types of dredging for Lake Agawam and the dewatering that goes along with that, which is where Peter and other people come in. And then, as part of the dredging comments, we talked about some of the short-term use of algicides. I know that doesn't sound like dredging, but it creates some sediment that will be dredged, and more importantly, there's some short-term need to really try to, and I think Mayor Warren spoke about this at the last DEC meeting, to try to do what we can to significantly lower the risk of a harmful algae bloom this summer. And the best ways to do that are through the use of certain types of algicides, most of which are not chemicals, bad chemicals. I can describe them in greater depth either here or later. But, and then lastly, the comments focus on bioswales, their use. They're very effective, they're cost effective, they look good, and there are some projects that they're already in the docket from Gary Gillespie at the southeastern portion of Gin Lane, a drainage project, and some related bioswales. And so those two combined, actually, it may be a small showcase, but could create an environmental showcase for the village. So that's the nature of the comments on the HAB report. Moving quickly to the 2020 Lake Agawam plan, because this is really the heart of what I want to talk about. It's a comprehensive strategy to improve water quality in the lake over many years using many techniques. There are three focuses to it. One is improving the quality of the water that's already in the lake, removing harmful nutrients, increasing oxygen levels, et cetera. Second is to manage the surface runoff that goes into the lake and find ways to keep that down and keep it cleaner. And then a third theme is the use of buffers and vegetation both at the lakeside and in the watershed and the approach to the lake, like a bioswale. I need to say, I think you all know this, but the public should know, there's no quick fix. There's no magic bullet, and there's nothing that we can do that won't have some negative consequences, potentially. But these are all techniques that have been tried elsewhere. They've been looked through. We come down to about 30 techniques in the plan out of about 120 that have been used on various bodies of water, so we've already been selective on it. And some of those approaches that could work well for us include the use of algae harvesters. We had a demonstration last summer. It is a technique that has some potential limitations, but some great advantages. We're open to deploying that where it's effective. The use of algicides, as I said, either short or medium term. Floating islands. I didn't put dredging in here, but dredging is one. And increasing drainage and bioswales. So those are sort of, that's a very representative sample of the types of techniques that are available. The plan, the slide asks what is the management plan, but I'm going to tell you what it's not. It's not a blueprint, and it's not a recipe. It's a strategic framework for what can be considered and implemented, and there's a lot of factors that will go into regulatory and other factors that will go into selecting the specific techniques. So what are we recommending now? We're recommending that you consider either this evening or in a meeting shortly, ideally before the end of March, in my opinion, a resolution to adopt the 2020 Lake Agawam Management Plan. And just to put some people's minds at ease, either up here on the dais or elsewhere, it's not a commitment to any particular action or any expenditure. We're not asking you to commit to that. That will come in the form of recommendations, perhaps from Gary Gillespie's team as part of his regular budgeting process and planning process, or it may come as special recommendations from the Clean Water Committee based on further work that we do. So, fair question. If you're not committing to anything specific, why adopt the plan? And this is really the message I want to leave you with today, and I'll just answer any questions. It accomplishes some really important things. The 5 of them up here are critical. First of all, there is a management plan that the village trustees adopted in 2009. It's on the village website, and it sits there. So there is an adopted plan. That plan is out of date. That plan is like the fire truck you decommissioned a couple meetings ago. It's nice that it's there, but there's a better model with much better features. So this is a clear statement of intent and an update of that plan. It's what I call a pencils down moment for everyone who's been working on this so far. And it's not to either give them a break or to pat them on the back necessarily, but it's to encourage them that their work is being listened to and considered and moved along. So to me, that's a very important part. It's also not the cornerstone, there are already many, but you will need to have, in the world we're living in now and the focus on water quality, this board and the village needs to have a pretty tight working relationship with the town in implementing a plan like this and picking any strategies, because the town has the purview over the bodies of water. So it's an important building block, hopefully a point of commonality and agreement with the town trustees. It's a catalyst for public focus and awareness, like speaking to you right now and for other reasons. And lastly, this is really important, it's a critical tool for grant seeking and regulatory permitting process. When you go for any permit or you go for any grant, if you say, I want to do X, that's great, it may be great. If you say, I do X, and it's included in this comprehensive plan that's had the input from these people and we've adopted it, it has a different and much richer meaning. So having a plan of this sort is really important. The 2009 plan has been cited even in recent grant approvals as a feather in the cap of the village, but it's out of date. So we'd like to get that up to date. That's it. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I'm happy to answer questions. I can dive into specifics, tell you more about things we've got coming up on our docket if you'd like, but let me stop there and see if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you, Rob. This is excellent. We really appreciate the hard work. I think the Clean Water Committee is essentially a good example for how a committee that we created should be operating. So I think you guys are doing a very good job.
Thank you.
With that said, I wanted to turn this over to the board for comments or questions if we've got any, or if we want to just move on and address this at the next meeting, up to the board here.
I would just say, I don't know if we can do this, but it would be great if the public could see the draft.
Yeah.
If we could throw that up on the website. I think we have, most of the documentation on our website is resolutioned, and I remember with Wayne Boone, we would look at that, but if there's a way we could put in draft, resolution pending, update to 2009,
Right.
so that people could actually, understand all this stuff that you've been doing Herculean work around with people coming from different countries. Was it South Africa, I believe? But, yes.
We would love to put that up, and I'm happy to work with Julie on it. My suggestion would be maybe we put up the draft plan and say that it's a draft plan not adopted, the 2009 plan still exists, that we add in the commentary we gave, to the summary that we gave to you previously, so the public has that. And then maybe, and I understand it's coming in a matter of days, when the DEC HAB report is available, putting that up as well, and we can put in a sentence or two of description so people know what they're looking at. But I'd love to do that.
Rob, I want to say thank you to the committee. I have not been involved in it to this point, but I know next week we are having a meeting with the DEC, and I'm looking forward to really getting to know a lot of the information, because we've had some very good input from a few of the trustees and mayor here already, and I value the time that they put in already, but I do value the time what you guys have done as residents to commit to this. So, excuse me, I think it's great, and I appreciate it.
And Rob, you may just want to mention all of the committee members, because I know you've spent countless hours.
Sure. I should first give a huge shout out to Tom Louthan. People call us the Thomas Jeffersons of the village, because there's been a lot of writing and a lot of drafting, and Tom has done much of it. And he started doing this, frankly, more than a year before you created the committee. And he did it on his own dime because he knew it was the right thing to do. So, and he's not here, unfortunately, couldn't be here tonight. But Tom Louthan is the co-chair with me, and that's been a great partnership. We have John Halsey and Daniela Kronemeyer, Pete Topping, I'm going to forget someone here.
Tony
Piazza, thanks. And we have a member who is appointed, but I think is going to step back. We're going to ask for maybe a replacement. Matthew Pincus is still officially on the committee, but we've got some...
Fernanda Niven is also on the committee.
No, Fernanda was, along with Megan Magyar, but they
Okay.
felt they had a potential conflict and they stepped down. But we've also had, I've had conversations with Siobhan Smith from the Shinnecock Nation on water quality issues. She's not been able to come to the meeting yet, but she will, and we've just had great support from people, so it's been a pleasure. One of the things, Mark, you mentioned that I think a couple of you were going to this presentation on March 2nd from the DEC, where they're going to present their final HAB plan, the final form of it, including the comments that we and others gave. I would like to suggest that maybe someone from this board, along with Tom and/or me, go to the trustees, the village trustees, to make a similar presentation. They're going to have to, we would want them to buy into this anyway. They've asked separately for they're interested in a good way in what the Clean Water Committee is doing, and they've asked us to come and make a presentation. So it feels to me like a good opportunity to go along with someone from this board and do a similar presentation to them.
And just a remark, because under open meeting law, all of us cannot be in the same meeting. So I've had the benefit of attending many of your meetings and the DEC meetings, but I couldn't do that when the mayor and I are sitting in the room, so that's why we have to, pass the baton on.
Yep.
But happy to do that.
But we can all sit in the town trustee meeting as observers at 1 p.m., yeah. So that, because I know they're presenting there, but they're also then presenting to a smaller group at 3 afterwards here, so yeah.
You can go to the public meeting.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting one comment that I really wanted to make. We have been also working closely with the Planning Commission, particularly with respect to their work and their interest in the sewer district, which is part of our plan, but really they've taken the lead on looking at the H2M study from several years ago and some potential updates to it. We had, a few weeks ago when we first thought of this presentation, thought of coming to present together. They're probably just a half a step behind us in getting their ideas down on paper. I think they're going to begin reaching out to some of you individually to see if you want an individual briefing on what they've been doing, but also I think planning to come to you in a similar forum, maybe a working session that they create, but maybe to your meeting to give a similar presentation on their work on the sewer district. So it's a multifaceted puzzle, and I guess the other thing I would just throw in quickly is a number of people ask me, why is everyone focusing on Agawam? And why is the Clean Water Committee put together a Lake Agawam plan? And what about all the other bodies of water in the village? We're acutely aware of this issue. And the point is that there's a lot of resources, including DC and some county resources and others, that have come in to help on Agawam because of the visibility, the size of the body of water, and the particular problems there. We are anxious as a committee, and we'll start at our next meeting, which is in a week and a half, to address the other bodies of water in the village. We would like to have a plan analogous to the Lake Agawam plan for every other body of water in the village in the next 3 or 4 months, at least in draft form. So we're getting to it, and the nice thing about Agawam, it's got such complex problems that it probably encompasses all the problems we're going to find in the other bodies of water. So that's the reason for starting there, but we're not ignoring the other bodies of water.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much, Rob. We really appreciate it. And also thanks for bringing up Siobhan Smith. Brian Polite, tribal leader of Shinnecock Nation, reached out to us. And we also have a liaison in her, the Shinnecock Nation. So I think that's another component which just shows all the good work that we're doing. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Next up is our discussion items. The first discussion item is the annual purchase of turnout gear from Capital Reserve. So Russell, I'll let you take this one.
Okay, so turnout gear gets worn, it has to meet PESH and OSHA standards, and the fire department on an annual basis does a replacement. This replaces 17 sets of turnout gear, 14 sets of boots. The cost of just under $55,000. It would be taken out of capital reserve equipment. If the board desires, there is a resolution suggested later in the meeting.
Thank you very much. Our next discussion item is the movie at Agawam from the Rogers Memorial Library.
This is a request for them to once again show the film Hidden Figures. They asked the board last year to do it. We gave them a date, unfortunately got rained out. so they were not able to show it. So they're coming back and asking again for a date this year, and I believe they gave us a few suggested that they would like, and we can feel free to pick whichever one works best for us. So if you want to approve it
I
with the
think the
condition that we
recommendation
look
we'd
at the
have.
exact
Yeah,
date.
let's pick, let's get a verbal that they're moving forward, get a date set, then they can fill out the application that they still haven't filled out, and on the March 12th, we can approve. I think they just wanted input on what date you folks thought was best. Again, we don't have to have it right now. You can look at your calendars and, email Julie,
I
but
would recommend not to do July 16th because I believe that that is the weekend that Southampton Arts Association has their Art in the Park, so they may want to set up. So we should probably avoid that week. I believe that would be avoiding July 16th, so that would make either July 9th or August 6th.
Coincidentally, the person about whom that movie is based upon, Hidden Figures, I believe she passed away yesterday or
Yes.
today. Yeah. Incredible person, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Julie, for that. The next discussion item is pedal share from Christopher Diamond.
So the village over the last, this would be the last 2 summers, has permitted pedal share to locate their bicycles for rent at a couple of locations at just off of Agawam Park, actually closer to Dozier, down at Cooper's Beach. They had a location over by the train station. They're looking to, again, do it again this year. What we would like to do this year is not only, just if the board still thinks it's a good idea, we'd like to have a license agreement with them. They have now expanded. They actually have a presence in Quogue Village and East Hampton Village. There is a standard license agreement. Again, that's something that the board will review in executive session because obviously it's contractual. However, they just wanted the public to be aware they're looking to do it again, and also to have a feel as to whether or not the village is still in favor of this. It again gives an opportunity for people to take bicycles from the beach downtown and vice versa. It's gets cars off the road, and it's a fairly successful program. I don't know whether the chief feels there's been issues with regards to them riding on sidewalks or any of those other types of issues, but it seems to have been fairly successful.
Thank you very much again. And finally, our fourth discussion item is the proposed change to financial disclosure forms.
That's me.
Okay. Thank you,
I've had a
Alexandra.
few conversations with Christian Pico, and he has asked the board to consider revising the financial disclosure statement that employees are required to fill out when they start work in the village, and I think have to fill it out every year thereafter. Right now, the statement just reads, I received and read a copy of the Code of Ethics, and then you sign your name underneath that. He would like the form to be amended to say that the document has been read and filled out under the penalty of perjury, so that it has a little bit more teeth, so to speak. And if there was a violation, it would be a misdemeanor. So that requires an amendment to the code. It's a pretty simple amendment just to reflect the language of the penal law. And if you all are amenable to that change, then we would put together the proposed amendment and we would have a public hearing on that.
Do you have any comments from the board?
Why did he find it was necessary? I mean, it's a little, it's reaching a little bit for more than what we wanted that group to do as far as enforcement.
I believe he wanted to make sure that the disclosure that was coming in was truthful. And this gives it a little bit more of an incentive to make it truthful.
And what exactly does it's asked, what is exactly it's asking for from the employees that they might lie about?
I don't know what they might lie about. It's a disclosure form to disclose contractual relationships, financial relationships that they might
So
be.
it's a conflict of interest statement.
Right.
It's your, okay, so it's a conflict of interest.
So
Under
if I can
perjury.
just,
I don't
if I
think
can
we
just
need to
add
throw
from a human
perjury in there.
resource.
To be honest, I
Yeah,
think it's, my personal opinion, no, I don't think we need to go that route, but.
From a human resources standpoint, I just want the board to recognize that the level of employee that is filling this out, that if in fact it was found that they were misleading in that document, the general recommended penalty would be dismissal. So what we could add on there without having to change the law is understand that if there is any misgivings or it's not truthful, that you would be subject to discipline, including termination. Then you wouldn't have to change the local law, but it would also have that teeth saying, you lie here, you face discipline. And
It implies if you lie, we've disciplined people with the document we have, so I don't know why I need to get a little more.
And is this only for our
Teethy.
employees, or because our board members sign this too?
Yes,
Everybody.
employees, board members. yeah.
Okay.
There's discussions, no.
And then is this consistent with what other municipalities do?
That I would have to look into.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
All right. I gave Steve a call today. I couldn't reach him, but that was the question.
Oh, Mr. Leventhal.
Mr. Leventhal,
Okay.
excuse me.
That's fine.
Mr. Leventhal, right.
Are there any other comments? Again, this is a, board decision. If we want to move forward, I'm fine either way. I have nothing, I'm happy to complete these forms, also happy not to. I'm good either way.
I mean, we have to complete the forms.
No, we complete them, yeah.
Amend the code.
I don't know about amending it for that, I don't, for perjury. It's like, again, it's implying.
Yeah.
I think we need a vendor confidentiality agreement more than this, because we don't have them right now.
I don't think I need to put people saying under the thing of perjury. I mean,
But maybe Christian could speak to us some more, because
I mean, yeah, I mean, I know he's not here, and I know you're speaking for him and stuff. I mean, did he give you the reasons why he thought what we have in place isn't enough?
Yeah, it's not a sworn statement.
But what we've just heard is that if you lie, so you're signing it, but
well, it used to be.
And they took that away because that process was, according to Christian, too cumbersome for the people who were filling it out. So they took that component out.
Oh, okay.
This language, this added language, doesn't require a notary. It's just basically giving notice.
I need to know more about it, but no, I'm not.
But if what we have currently, the discipline is you're dismissed if you are not truthful on this document, I don't understand what the change would affect if you're already going to be removed from not being truthful on this document.
I'm not sure I understand.
If you-
Christian
right-
just wanted the added language so that the people who were filling the document out were on notice that, that this is an important document and that they're signing it under the penalty of perjury. If you don't like the language, you don't have to include it, and, you might consider what Russell just said and adding language about that instead, if you feel that would be appropriate.
Do you feel amending?
In fairness to Christian, if you look at a Suffolk County Civil Service exam application, which everyone has to fill out as well if you're an employee, you do sign that, and it does have that language. So just, there are documents that people sign that have that language, so it can be either way, but.
Okay.
Should we weigh in for our village attorney when he comes next week and hear what he has to say about it?
Sure. Or we can
do
add,
that too.
or I don't think nothing has to be decided. I don't think anything has to be decided right now. I think we can have Christian elaborate to us, I think, which he's always willing to do one-on-one, and he's, because this is news to me, so I wouldn't say yes to this without speaking to him as to why he feels this is imperative.
We take conflicts of interest seriously. We want to surface them. That is the reason for this disclosure. My understanding is most municipalities have such a disclosure. If we've taken away the notarization of it, I guess the question is, what teeth does it have? It sounds like we have teeth elsewhere with regards to employees, but we just need to get a little more information around this.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, sounds good. So we can move on. We can even have Christian come in and make a board presentation, and he can present what he's looking for. But I think that's a good point. We can wait until Brian starts as well, and he can advise us in addition, and we can just move forward with communications to the board because there are no public hearings. The first communication to the board is the Planning Commission, Clean Water Committee, Sewer District Update, Have Action Plan, Lake Agawam 2020 Management Plan, which we can move forward on because that will be on our website. And again, Rob and team, good work on that one. We also have a lot of momentum with Lake Agawam, so we have a second communication to the board from the Lake Agawam Conservancy, and that's in support of HAB's action plan and request for grant coordination. So I don't know if, Julie, have you seen this? Could you just give us a quick summary of this? Or we could also, again, make this public and put this on our website. Okay.
Read through the plan in order to speak to it.
There's also a letter of support, they attached a letter of support also from Dr. Gobler as part of their correspondence as well.
Yes, and that is in addition, in the next page here in our book, there's a letter, as you said, from Dr. Gobler addressing Governor Cuomo, thanking him for his renewed and continued help with us, and essentially we are very thankful to have the work and help of the DEC. We've had several DEC meetings, and we've had tremendous momentum, probably more momentum than ever before. In fact, the DEC had commented how much community interest there is. As Rob could attest, there's not a seat left in the room when we have our DEC meetings, and everyone wants to come. So we have phenomenal momentum, and I couldn't be more proud to have helped with this movement to help clean our lake. You'll also see in the letter, which we'll make available publicly, they have talked about the pilot program for the AECOM algae skimmer, which was highly successful back in October, and removed microcystin, nitrogen, and phosphates by upwards of 90%, and also used in other bodies of water across the country, especially Lake Okeechobee. So here is just presented another very strong communication to the board. So we would thank the Lake Agawam Conservancy, Dr. Gobler, and everyone else who has participated in that. In addition, I guess we have number 3, New York State DEC horseshoe crab signs on Meadow Lane. Julie, would you like to take this one too, or?
I haven't read through it yet.
Okay. Russell, are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe you could give us a quick summary for our board, just so we can quickly move through this and proceed accordingly.
Very quickly, since it was addressed to the board, they're asking for permission to put a sign which is in your packet that report tagged horseshoe crabs and the number to call. The board does not need to take action. It's an administrative action that can be taken care of at the staff level, but it's communications to the board that they are looking to put one sign up, 1 foot by 1 foot on Meadow Lane.
I'm fine with that. So is there a resolution in?
No need to do a resolution. It's
Okay.
administrative unless
Okay.
you don't want staff to move forward with it.
So just tell Gary to go ahead and.
Yes.
Okay, give Gary some direction there. Actually, Russell, if you don't mind, if you can, I addressed the letter from Dr. Gobler, but there is something that maybe you can just bring to our attention here regarding the request for a weir and some help with some of the Lake Agawam drainage as the summer approaches. That will again be an issue, so maybe you can just also just give us a quick summary there. I might have.
From which letter are you looking for?
This is going back to number 2 for the Lake Agawam Conservancy. There is some language here regarding the drainage of the lake into the ocean and if you wanted to summarize that for us, or if the board would just like to take a look at that. But last summer, that was a big issue as far as opening the drain pipe and releasing some of the water with the toxic algae into the ocean. And they have some ideas for solutions here, including a weir, which they're offering to help us out with and provide financial support.
I'm not familiar with what a weir is. Again, that is something that, certainly the board could give direction as to whether or not they would like to, have Gary Gillespie coordinate with them in investigating what it would take to do that. And how we would, whether we need engineering or they're paying for engineering, and how that would be coordinated between the two. But again, I'm not familiar with how a weir works, but certainly, the board can read through the correspondence and give direction as to how they feel about doing it. This is I'm actually not familiar with what a weir is.
It's okay. It's essentially just some filtration, but it's in the Lake Agawam plan that Rob had presented us with. So if we were to adopt that, we would essentially be, okaying research into a weir. But we can have additional presentations. So thank you very much for that.
But can I?
Yeah, please.
Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
No, I was just going to say there's a lot of information in this correspondence. The one is that they support the action plan and hope that we adopt it. We've already had that discussion with Rob tonight, and we're already heading in that direction, and we will be placing it on the website. And then they're also asking that they coordinate with us to seek funding for priorities in the plan on grant applications that are due. I think we need Gary in the room, because I know there's a lot of grant applications. We went through that runway in a couple of the meetings that we had. The other piece is they want to obtain funding for the installation of planted bias wells in the north and south ends of Lake Agawam. I remember seeing an email from Gary just yesterday saying we already did receive some grant funding for some of this. So some of this needs kind of a dialogue rather than there's a letter in the file, and because this is good stuff. And then second of all, financing a groundwater monitoring study. They're prepared to finance it, but I think we already got the financing for the groundwater monitoring study. I thought we got the grant approval on that. And then whatever we don't have approval on, we would certainly appreciate the wonderful Lake Agawam Conservancy to fill in any gap, I guess is what I would say. But, I mean, a lot of information is in this letter.
Yeah, there is.
And remember, this is correspondence, and
Right.
from this, if you would like to schedule them to come in, or you want them to do something, it's fine. This is, as it reads, it's correspondence to the board.
So I guess,
You did telemetry buoy already with the town, wasn't that a joint?
so we did it
Trustees, yeah.
telemetry buoy with the town, but if you compare, the evaluation of the buoy it was a very kind of elementary buoy compared to an advanced buoy, so correct me if I'm wrong here. And so it's going to be traded out with an advanced buoy where people can then get information real time off of it at Stony Brook, which is fantastic. And then the thought was we were going to take the not so advanced buoy and to Rob Coburn's and Point and the water committee, place it at Old Town so that we also get some monitoring there.
But the advanced buoy, you would have to then work with the town trustees again, right?
Correct.
To get permission.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Allen. You were very instrumental in getting us the initial buoy, so we'll have that in our inventory. So thank you for the good work
I
there.
wish I could take credit, but it was Ann Welker who chased after all of us, but thank you.
And also, just if I could, Mr. Mayor, just the weir, if we're going to do a study on that and everything, I think we'd want to make sure that it could be in place by the time, because just in case, I'd hate to put something in or not be able to put something in and say we're not going to be able to drain if and when then that lake fills up, and we don't want that water backing up into the residents around the lake, into their basements, or flooding down into Job's Lane, which we know happens if the lake gets too full. And that puts a lot of people at risk, because you're not able to then control the outflow of where that water goes.
Yep, good point.
Because, I mean, no one likes to drain, but it is a necessity on where we are, unfortunately.
Thank you very much. And
But I
then,
have to just say, it was your idea to form a water committee, and that has brought about a lot of good things, so I wanted to appreciate.
thank you.
For that.
Very good, I appreciate it. Okay, so we'll keep on moving. The fourth communication to the board is the South Hold Town Helicopter Advisory Committee. Russell, maybe you can fill us in on this one, please.
We've got a correspondence from Lauren Polsinelli and Teresa McCaskey from the South Hold Town Helicopter Advisory Committee inviting board members to attend the Fly Neighborly Kickoff, March 11th in Melville.
Thank you very much. And then finally, the fifth communication is Bambi Felberbaum due to the lack of cellular service.
Yes, so Mr. or Ms. Felberbaum says the family's been living in Southampton for 35 years, and they identify that the lack of cell service is at a very dangerous occurrence, and they would like to see this problem resolved.
So I'd like to comment on that. It doesn't have to be now, it can be when the board makes their comments. So whatever is appropriate.
Mayor?
Whatever you'd like to do is fine by me.
All righty. So we do have a cell phone issue. I've received a number of complaints from our members of our Business Revitalization Committee. We know we have a safety issue by not having good cell coverage in parts of our village. And in the summertime, it's really bad and really spotty. So apparently, a very large, one of our largest providers is Verizon, and they approached us back in October and said that they could place potentially cell towers in various strategic parts of the village. We know that the area kind of from South Main Street all the way to Meadow Lane and a couple blocks north of that is where we have the primary problem. And the reason why is because the water deflects the cell capability. So their offer, and Trustee Polaro and I are reaching out aggressively to some of these providers as they've indicated they can bring cell towers to the village, place them not only at Cooper's Beach, but also right here at Village Hall. That would immediately enhance the cell capability. We don't know anything about it. We don't know the bandwidth. We don't know the cost. We don't know how that affects all the other providers because there's more than just Verizon. We have AT&T, we have Sprint, we have T-Mobile. But the point is, we're hearing that they can make something happen very quickly. And this is about the fifth resident that's come to me. And I just wanted to lay it out there. I know you probably have looked into this prior, and you may have already started something there, but we'd like to explore this aggressively before the summer.
Yeah. No, there's always been an offer, thankfully, from carriers to offer towers. I can go down the list of different locations that's been proposed. It's just always been public outcry. Don't want it near me. We couldn't even put one in the in the top of the church because the neighbors complained. The board was ready to do it. The church was ready to do it. So that, that's the main obstacle. Hell, we tried to put one over behind the police station. That got shot down. So it's never, trust me, the lack of people providing funding and the constructed, it's money for them. It's just been where it goes. That's been my experience. Hopefully you guys can bridge that.
So that's a really good point. So the initial information is telling us it's not this giant tower that looks like something out of,
Yeah, they were going to put them on, attach them to little, like the poles.
Right,
They were different.
Yeah.
But then they required different funding for that, so it became a funding issue.
I think we need to revisit it though,
yeah,
because
clearly.
maybe technology is advanced, and I could be completely wrong, but
Well, I think that, Chief, we have a meeting, right? And you spoke to me about this. Jesse, you were there too in the Ocean Rescue, and he talked about the cell service and how bad it is, especially at the beach. And basically from Hill Street, from Halsey Neck south and all the way down to the end of, to the Suffolk County. And you said that Verizon, you spoke to me about this.
Yeah, when Steve Funch was still here as the administrator, we had an agreement, like it wasn't signed, but we had an agreement with Verizon to do it's like, not a tower, it was going to be,
A micro tower, it's called.
but it was going to not look like a tower. It was going to be something more aesthetically pleasing. Here at SVPD headquarters and at Cooper's Beach, in the cupola that's on.
It's 30 by 50
And
inches.
there was going to be it would pay the village, it wouldn't be a cost to the village. And it just never,
One of the
because
things,
all the transition in administration, it just never finished. I've been recontacted by them, so,
So it's on the table still.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you all want to go ahead with that and then look at more
Yeah,
options
this is what
besides.
we're
This
looking
is
at.
what we're doing.
This is what we're looking at now.
Yeah.
two other factors were, one is that we passed, the village passed a local law easing the process. If you recall that there was a very strenuous process if someone was going to
Get this going, yeah.
put a unit on a village-owned property.
Correct.
So we changed so
That was-
we
that
held
was
off.
because of that. That's
Right,
kinda
we
what
held
that
off
linked into
because of that. And then there was a presentation made by someone who was requesting that the village buy a certain type of street light that was going to, instead of putting towers up, we were going to have street lights that were
That was
going to
the
be their
private
own
funding
mini
problem,
cells
right.
themselves. So those were the things that were happening that delayed the
I mean,
contract with
We got to
Verizon.
the point where we even had meetings, this is a couple of years ago, under the Smart Cities grant, of doing a pretty comprehensive project all the way down Meadow Lane, putting light poles all the way down Meadow Lane with cell and Wi-Fi on them. Never got to the actual budgeting part, but, done a lot, the police department at least has done a lot of research on this because of the cell service that's lacking on the
To
local
make
Meadow
clear.
Lane.
And the police department uses Verizon, is that correct? Or,
It's a mix of
It's a
AT&T
mix.
and Verizon.
Well, Verizon's offered to come in and conduct an analysis, so we're going to have a conversation with them in the next
done
week or
already.
so, but obviously, it's a quality of life issue for you and for anybody at the beach, it's a safety issue. And quite frankly, if our businesses can't execute a transaction in the summer, that's a problem too. So,
Still have the Verizon reps contact, if you want me to give it to you. You can speak to them directly.
why don't the three of us speak, because we've already been contacted by somebody at Verizon, it may well be the same person. But we need your.
no, I know you said it's there, it's just got to be executed, correct?
I mean, I don't think there's paperwork signed, but
No, there's no
the
paperwork
plan was
signed.
already,
So that's something we can execute then.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
thanks.
Thank you.
So we can move forward with our suggested resolutions. Russell, I'll let you take the first one on minutes, please.
Entertain a motion resolved that the reading of the minutes for the public session of February 13th, 2020 be dispensed with, and those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the claims for the warrants dated February 25th, 2020 totaling $466,959.58. Warrant number 12, general fund. $534, warrant number 9, capital reserve, and $1,275, warrant number 16, trust fund be audited and approved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Invoices, general fund, Alpine Software Corporation, $2,295. That's computer aid dispatch interface with electric health recorder for the ambulance. Black Bear Lubricants, $1,779.90. That's 10W40 heavy-duty diesel oil, central garage. Black Gold Industries, $2,172.38. That's 18 tons of coal patch for the highway department. Kimpola Middleton McCormick, $7,753.24. Attorney fees on land use matters. Civic Plus Inc., $3,000. Website hosting and support, year number 3 of a 5-year contract. Corwitz Auto Body, $1,100, towing fees. Dependable Hydraulic, $1,761.58. That's the annual ANSI and OSHA hydraulic inspections for the fire department, ladder truck, and a highway tree trimmer. Firematic Supply Company, $12,672.24. It's rebuild transfer case and main pump for 7317 ladder truck for the fire department. Hildreth Sinks, $1,182. That's 4 9-foot 9-inch umbrella for Cooper's Beach up on the deck. Long Island Cauliflower Association, $2,640. Field conditioner and infield clay for Downs Park for the Parks Department. National Grid, $7,412.97. That's utilities. Nelson Pope and Voorhees, $3,540. engineering consulting for various boards and projects. New York State Employees Health Insurance, $369,059.21. That's employee health insurance. Optimum, $1,612.13. Utilities, internet, Wi-Fi. Riverhead Building Supply, $1,087.51. Assorted battery-operated tools for the fire department. Southampton Youth Services, $7,500. That's the annual village membership. Vincent Toomey, $19,352.03. Outside Labor Council. Town of Southampton Comptroller, $2,327.50. Brush and leaves disposal. Verizon, $3,699.11. That's telephone. Moving on to trust account, Banjo Rascals, $1,275. That's 4th of July entertainment.
Can I ask a question before we go? Counselor, with the SYS payment for our annual membership, I'm a board member at SYS. Should I recuse myself from the vote? Thank you.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby retains Cook Marin as the village insurance agent and authorizes the village administrator to purchase the 2020-2021 commercial insurance policies.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Gina Aresta to the Budget and Finance Committee.
So moved.
I have to recuse myself.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the following dates for the 2 public hearings for the annual estimated and tentative budget for the fiscal year 2000. I'm going to make a motion to amend this to read 2020-2021 fiscal year.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thursday, April 9th, 2020 at 6 p.m. and Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 at 6 p.m. Copies of the proposed budget will be available to the public beginning Tuesday, March 31st, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the purchase of turnout gear and boots at a cost not to exceed $55,000 from Capital Reserve Fire Equipment, subject to permissive referendum.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Trustee Yashemski.
Aye.
Trustee Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Parrish.
Aye.
Trustee Polaro.
All right.
Thank you very much. So we have our final portion of our meeting tonight, which is comments from board members. As usual, Trustee Yashemski can kick it off.
I'm good. I got nothing.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Allen?
I'm awake this time. Last time I came back from Germany and the meeting started at midnight my time, so I'll go quickly. We have our inaugural monthly Senior Fund Lunch Club starting this Thursday. We already have 40 reservations. It's too late to add anybody, but I wanted everybody to know that the next one is Thursday, March 26th, and I'm just going to put it down there for anybody to see. Again, this is a co-sponsored by our own Village Senior Committee, the Town Senior Center, the Southampton History Museum, Rogers Memorial Library, and St. John's Episcopal. And hopefully everybody can make it. Seems like we're off to a good start, and everybody here is welcome to attend also this Thursday from 11 to 1. Yep, 40 is a good number, good starting number. Just wanted to mention that our Business Revitalization Committee is very aware that we need more events during our shoulder season, and they are launching a new event in April 4th, the weekend of April 3rd, with April 4th being kind of the spotlight day. It will have an array of activities from noon all the way into the evening, from dancing to bandshell in the park with DJs and face painting and evening dancing, and maybe even, if we can figure out how to do this, a band, food trucks on Main Street, but a lot of good work put in by the group. And we will have a plan in place and more information up on the village website within a week or so, but just wanted to keep everybody posted. And then the only other thing I was just going to say is that I've had a couple of calls about what we're going to do with regards to the coronavirus, because apparently it has now started to spread a little more aggressively than anybody has thought. We reached out to the county as well as the town. The CDC is monitoring this very closely. They are providing daily updates on new cases, and they provide a risk assessment where you reside, as well as giving you advice on non-pharmaceutical avoidance tactics or interventions, because at this juncture, there is no vaccine. So you can go to the site yourself if you are of interest, and that site is under the Suffolk County government website, and then you just click Health Bulletins and look for coronavirus. They have a lot of good information. And there's basic, 6 recommendations for you. If you're sick, stay home. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Cover your coughs, wash your hands. But they give you a whole list of things to do. And if it does advance to something a little bit more than, hopefully it will not, then, the community and the leaders and the leadership and the emergency plan personnel will have to work together closely to put together comprehensive plans with regards to that. So that was all I had to say.
Thank you very much. Trustee Parrish?
Just quickly, we all get a chance to speak to community members through the weeks, through the months, and just a quick example of the past couple of weeks, I've been able to speak to quite a few of them, and how important it is to listen to community members share stories. And for instance, over the past 2 weeks especially, I've gotten to speak to quite a few that have shared stories with me about, events in the village, 40 years ago, sporting events, community events, and the way that they remember how this village, was to them, and how important it is that, they share these stories with us as people that are up here now trying to, embrace, the community spirit and moving forward, and more importantly, how valuing that past and valuing how they saw a community that was so important to them. And taking that and moving that forward, to me, is a real gift to listen to. And, I want to thank Judy Wingfield. I want to thank Butch Armashevitz, Lee Franklin, and Roger Marcinsic. Those are some of the few that I get to speak to that have been here. And all their stories always tend to combine with one another. And the stories they talk about, the kids, myself when I was young, and things like that. It's why when we are up here, I personally feel really good about being part of this village and wanting to pass that along to everybody else. So thank you to them. Thank you to this community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Polaro?
First of all, happy Mardi Gras, Shrove Tuesday, Pancake Tuesday to all.
Good one.
And just a quick, to let the public know that the Southampton Artists Association had their winter opening show last Saturday night. The show will be running at the Southampton Cultural Center until March 1st. That's Sunday at 4 p.m. And it runs from Sunday to Thursday from noon until 4, and Friday and Saturday from noon until 6. So a lot of great pieces of art done all by local artists. And go down and check it out. There are really some wonderful pieces there, all for sale. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Trustee Polaro. Trustee Polaro has done a very nice job, of course, with the Southampton Art Association, as Trustee Allen has done, so thank you very much for your help there. I will try to wrap this up quickly. A few things to note. I just wanted to announce, as we saw from a special meeting, the board passed a resolution hiring a new village attorney, Brian Egan. He is the village attorney, in addition now of Southampton Village, but also of Patchogue and Port Jefferson. We're extremely excited to work with him because he not only brings great experience, but he has other perspectives. He also has experience with a sewer district and a business improvement district, and I think he'll be a very big help to our village. And I'm hoping, and I'm very optimistic, I think we'll actually have a lot of public hearings on our agendas moving forward, because there's a lot to do, and we can really get to work with Brian. So we're looking forward to doing that. As I've mentioned quickly earlier, I was over at the intermediate school today to speak with our 8th graders, and they were a very good group. They asked very tough questions, and we had a great opportunity to meet with them, so I was very excited to do that. We discussed how to run for public office once they turn 18. We discussed odds and ends, such as activities in the village, and that was a rowdy town hall style meeting I went to, so I got some good practice in case there's another town hall. In addition, with the close of February, it's also the close of Black History Month, and I just want to thank Georgette Greer-Key for inviting us to the Bay Street Theater, where there was a presentation on some of the archaeology behind slavery in the North. And one thing that I think was important to mention was that when there was a presentation regarding some of the archaeological findings, most people think of this a period of enslavement as what you see in the movies as a plantation in the South. But the reality is, New York State was actually the second largest slave-owning state in the country. And with all the people who were brought over against their will from West Africa, there was an entire culture that was created. So it was phenomenal to learn and listen to that presentation. And in addition, to wrap things up with two last things, we are working very closely with Gary Gillespie from our Department of Public Works to do an Arbor Day celebration. It's one of the criteria needed to become a tree city, so we are hoping this April to add Southampton Village to the list of other communities across the country as a designated tree city, with that being one of the criteria, as well as other criteria that we have hit or will hit in the future. And then just so everyone can know, we have an event, or there's a public event at the Southampton History Museum where I will be taking some Q&A. So if you're interested in attending, just RSVP on the Southampton History Museum website. It's a great organization, and if you can't come to this event, they have other great programs and presentations regarding the history of the village. So with that said, there's no second public comment on our agenda. Just want to confirm no one would like to make that. So if that's the case, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing legal and personnel matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much for attending, everyone.